my first time drinking, I was 13 years old. And then it wasn't like an average person who takes their first drink and is like, oh, this is like nice, or this is gross, or whatever they think. It was like, wow, that makes me feel different. And then I just kept drinking. The first time I drank, I blacked out. And so I started drinking more and more and started smoking pot. And then when I was almost 15, I started doing like harder drugs. And I started using heroin and cocaine intermittently and together. It's what's called a speedball. And I used drugs to feel different. It wasn't necessarily that I wanted to feel better, because it didn't make me feel better. It just made me feel different than I was feeling. And it was my way to kind of push feelings down and cope differently. And so I kept using drugs, and then when I was 16, my best friend overdosed right in front of me. And it kind of was it was a very tiny wake-up call. And so I started like a week after his funeral, which I wasn't even allowed to go to because his parents blamed me for his death. And to be honest, I blamed myself for a very long time. But I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And I walked in, and every single person in the room was like 50 or older. And so I felt very uncomfortable being a 16-year-old walking into this room. And then NA is a spiritual program, but sometimes a certain meeting can be very like God heavy. And at the time I was like an agnostic and like and not spiritual and not religious, and the word God really scared me off because I grew up Catholic, and like I was hating the church at the time, and like was very mad at God. And then it was like I was mad at God but didn't believe God existed, so it was like a weird paradox in my mind. So I walked out of the meeting, and then I didn't go back. I continued to use drugs and alcohol, lost jobs, lost friends, lost partners, and was homeless for a lot of the time. And then I got into college, which was a really surprising thing considering I was not the best student in high school because I would skip classes to go use. But I got into college, started going to college, and then my like alcoholism and addiction felt more normal because everybody was drinking all the time, and there was like a lot more people who were doing cocaine, not very many people doing heroin, so that was like the kind of what set me aside from a lot of people. When I was 19, I was living with this person who's now my best friend, and she like basically like told me like, hey, have you thought about like going back to like Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous? And so she started driving me to meetings, and the first meeting I went to was absolutely awful. I hated every minute of it. I was angry at the world, and nobody came up to say hi to me afterwards, so I felt very like that I didn't belong there. So it took me another year of putting together 30 days at a time or 60 days at a time until I started going to meetings in the Hillcrest area. And then that was when I finally like found my group, my niche, whatever. My like group of people who like I could tell cared about me and understood like that my gender and my sexuality had a lot to do with why I used in the first place. That's where I found my sponsor. That's when I started working the steps. Um, and like now, and that was, I had one final relapse on December 31st of 2016. And so January 1st, 2017 is my clean date. I'm coming up on 2 years, um, which is really exciting. My advice to anybody who's struggling with addiction is honestly the 12-step programs like saved my life. Um, Finding a group of sober and clean people who don't use or don't drink has also really been helpful. There have been several times where like I just wanted to go to a bar and get wasted, and like I would have if my like good friends in recovery like wouldn't have been at that meeting that I was supposed to go to. And like so my like sober group of people have like really become my chosen family. And like we had like a sober Thanksgiving that was like super fun, that I had never had so much fun during a holiday. So like things like that I really encourage people to find the sober people, and it can be me. You can reach out to me and I'll go to a meeting with you, and that way it doesn't feel as scary. Okay, well, I'm gonna say that drugs and alcohol is always an option, but it's being the best option. It's never gonna be the best option. My life today as a clean and sober person is myriads better, even at my lowest moments when I have like when I got dumped and then my roommate stopped paying rent and somebody stole money out of my bank all within like the same week. Like being clean and sober is much better than being high and wasted. Like in that situation, especially like getting high or drunk is not going to solve the problem. So like it really comes down to that, and like having a higher power is really important as well. It's something that really scares a lot of people off from the 12-step programs. Um, but like your higher power doesn't have to be a person in the sky. It doesn't have to be the traditional God that the church has. It can be a chair for all matters. It can be something that you believe in, which is what sobriety has given me. It's given me the ability to believe in things again, which is like an amazing feeling, to be able to believe in a higher power, to believe in other people, and to believe in myself is like such a cool thing. So